Welcome to LanguageHelp. Today we'll try to answer a cue card. We'll show you an effective method you can use to answer any cue card, discuss vocabulary, and finally share an example answer with you. Be sure to subscribe to get all the free tips and lessons you need to score well on your IELTS. When you do the second task in the IELTS speaking test, you'll be given a cue card, which is a piece of paper with a question on it. You'll also be given an empty paper and a pencil and only 1 minute to structure and organize your answer. After the minute is over, you are supposed to speak on the topic for 2 minutes and answer 1 or 2 follow-up questions. Not all questions will be familiar to you. You're not expected to tell the truth. You may need to invent examples or experiences that you never actually had. In this example, the cue card question is to describe someone who is good at their job. This job can be anything: a cook, a policeman, a builder, an army officer, a singer, an engineer, a doctor. I think you get the idea. To answer the question, you have to decide on who the person is and what their job is. If you cannot think of anyone, then you have to invent and use your imagination. The first cue is who this person is. On your paper, draw a box and note down the tense that you'll be using to accomplish this task. If you cannot decide on the tense, you can always rely on the tense of the cue. In this case, the cue tense is the simple present tense. But I would also like to use the simple past tense to talk about how I met this person. Next, I need to think of the person. Is he my father? Is she my mother? Or is it someone I know? I need to write the name and prepare my mind for the words I need to describe my relationship with the person. I will also need to know how to describe this person, from physical attributes to mental capacity. I may need words such as tall, handsome, intelligent, hardworking. Finally, I write down the name of the place where I met him first and prepare my mind to talk about related vocabulary. The next cue asks me to talk about his or her job. I first establish the tense. In this case, I'll use the present tense and the past tense. I'll also need to remember vocabulary about professions, such as engineer, cook, teacher, deadlines, working hours, and stuff like that. Maybe I also need to talk about the university level experience of the person: degree, specialization, graduation. I will also need to introduce the example of where I met this person. The next cue asks me to talk about how he or she likes their job. Again, I establish the tense. In this case, I will use the present tense. I also need to remember vocabulary about feelings in relationships. I will need to describe the relationship this person has with their job. I need words such as dedicated and hardworking. Now, the final cue is to explain why this person is good at their job. The first thing I do is establish the tense. Then I will have to think of examples to validate my argument. Now that I have all my boxes ready, I will have to start speaking. I'll need 2 or 3 sentences for each box. I need the tenses to connect smoothly. I also need to answer all the cues. I need to use unfamiliar vocabulary, a few collocations, and a mix of tenses if I can. So on your paper, the 4 boxes should look something like this. The person I'm going to talk about is Sam. I don't have a friend whose name is Sam. I just invented one. Sam is a friend I met in high school, and he works as a freelance web designer. He's dedicated and artistic, hardworking, and I have an example to show that. Now let's get to business. To start, I would use the idiom comes to mind. It's a good start, and it shows lexical variety. It also gives the impression that I've just remembered Sam. A professional is someone who gets paid for what they do. Note that I use the present tense to introduce Sam and the past simple to talk about how I know him. To answer the second box, I will now introduce the example in the past tense. I use verbs in the past tense such as met, seemed, or sought. Sought means looked for. I will also talk about the qualities of my friend. I use a range of familiar idioms and collocations in a natural and fluid manner. For example, Sam struck me as thorough is an idiom that means Sam gave me the impression that he was interested in the details of his job. In the next box, I use the past tense to talk about my friend and his job. I use specialist vocabulary because there is no other way to talk about the subject. To pursue a degree is to study a certain subject at university. Requires is an important verb that means demands or needs. The final box is about what makes him good at what he does. An important verb here is excel in something. There isn't only one way to answer the cue card, and our example answer is not for you to memorize, rather you can use it as a guide. Your job now is to go back to the 4 boxes and come up with your own example answer. Put your answer below and we'll discuss it. We also have a bunch of lessons and tips on our channel to help you score more on the IELTS speaking test. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to catch the next cue card.